Welcome to Billionaire Success Lessons, where timeless success stories become practical wisdom for real life. Today we are talking about Warren Buffett, a man the world has long known as one of history's greatest investors. But if you only look at the billions, the headlines, and the legendary status, you miss the real meaning of his journey. Warren Buffett's story is not only about money. It is about patience, discipline, clarity, character, and the extraordinary power of making simple decisions, well, for a very long time. Today, even after stepping down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway at the start of 2026 and remaining chairman, Buffett's life still stands as one of the clearest examples of how quiet consistency can outperform noise, ego, and hype. His success did not come from chasing attention. It came from understanding value, trusting time, and refusing to let emotions make decisions. That logic should control. That is what makes his journey so powerful. He did not build his life by trying to look brilliant every day. He built it by being rational when others were impulsive, patient when others were restless, and steady when others were afraid. Warren Buffett was born on August 30th, 1930, in Omaha, Nebraska, and from a very young age he showed an unusual fascination with money, business, and investing. This was not the kind of curiosity that comes and goes. It was deep, early, and persistent. He bought his first stock at age 11, and by age 13 he had already filed a tax return, even deducting his bicycle as a business expense for his paper route. Those details matter because they reveal something essential about him. Buffett did not suddenly become interested in wealth as an adult. He trained his mind toward enterprise when most children were still discovering what they liked. He sold gum, Coca-Cola, and newspapers. He learned how small profits could grow. He learned that money could be multiplied, not just earned. And perhaps most importantly, he learned that progress usually begins with habits, not miracles. Long before he had capital, he had curiosity. Long before he had fame, he had focus. And long before he had Berkshire Hathaway, he had a mind that was already wired to notice opportunity where others saw ordinary life. As he grew older, Buffett's path started to take clearer shape. He studied first at Wharton, then completed his bachelor's degree at the University of Nebraska, and then went to Columbia Business School, where he studied under Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing. Buffett later said he chose Columbia because Graham taught there, and that decision changed his life. Graham gave him more than technical knowledge. He gave him a framework. He taught him that investing is not gambling when it is based on careful analysis, a margin of safety, and emotional discipline. He taught him to think in terms of intrinsic value rather than popularity. He taught him to treat a stock as ownership in a business, not a flashing symbol on a screen. These ideas became the intellectual foundation of Buffett's entire career. But what makes this phase of the story so meaningful is that Buffett did not merely admire wisdom from a distance. He went after it. He placed himself near the right teacher. He studied the right ideas. He built his mind before he tried to build his empire. That is one of the deepest lessons in success. The right philosophy, learned early, can shape every decision that follows. After Columbia, Warren Buffett worked for Benjamin Graham's investment firm, where he learned the craft of intelligent investing in the real world. But when Graham retired, Buffett returned to Omaha and started building something of his own. In 1956, he launched Buffett Partnership Limited, beginning the chapter that would slowly transform him from a gifted student into a master capital. Allocated at this stage of his journey is often overlooked because it lacks the glamour of later success. But it may be one of the most important. Buffett was not yet a legend. He was simply a disciplined young investor with a clear method, strong convictions, and an unusual ability to stay patient. He studied companies carefully. He searched for undervalued opportunities. He let compounding do its work. He was not trying to impress the world with flashy predictions. He was trying to build a durable process. And that is where many lives go wrong. People want dramatic breakthroughs, but Buffett's path reminds us that real greatness is often built quietly, while nobody is watching. He did not rush to look successful. He focused on becoming skillful, and over time, skill produced trust. Trust produced capital, and capital produced freedom. Then came one of the most important turning points in financial history. Buffett began buying shares in a struggling textile company called Berkshire Hathaway in the early 1960s, and by 1965 he had taken control. At first, Berkshire was not the beautiful machine people know today. It was a fading textile business. But Buffett saw in it something larger, a vehicle. Over time, he transformed Berkshire from a troubled manufacturer into a holding company that would eventually own or invest in businesses across insurance, railroads, energy, manufacturing, retail, and more. This is where Warren Buffett's story becomes more than a story about investing. It becomes a story about vision. Many people can find a bargain. Far fewer can turn a bargain into a platform for building one of the most admired business empires in the world. Buffett did not simply buy stocks. He built a system. He built a culture. He built a structure that allowed capital to be redeployed intelligently over decades. And that is why Berkshire became so extraordinary. It was not just a company. It was a long-term compounding engine guided by discipline, rationality, and trust. What made Buffett different was not only his intelligence, it was his temperament. Markets are emotional places. They seduce people with greed. When prices are rising, and they terrorize people with fear. When prices are falling, Buffett built his entire career around resisting both temptations. He emphasized intrinsic business value and a long-term owner's perspective. That philosophy helps explain why he could remain calm when others panicked, and stay selective when others became reckless. He was not trying to win every day. He was trying to be right over time. And that distinction matters. The modern world rewards excitement, urgency, and constant action. Buffett's life argues for something very different. It argues that inactivity can be intelligent. It argues that saying no is often more profitable than saying yes. It argues that emotional control is a business advantage. In a culture that loves speed, Buffett built one of the greatest fortunes in history by proving that patience is not passive. Patience, when joined to judgment, is power. He understood that compounding needs time, and that the person who honors time gains an advantage over the person who keeps interrupting the process. But this story should not be romanticized into something unreal. Buffett's road was not free of difficulty, doubt, or criticism. There were long stretches when his methods looked old-fashioned to people chasing whatever was fashionable at the moment. During speculative manias, Buffett often looked too cautious. During technology booms, some people thought he had become outdated. During downturns, every decision was examined more harshly. He also made mistakes, some of them very public, and he has often acknowledged that not every investment worked the way he hoped. That honesty is part of what makes his journey so compelling. He never pretended that success meant perfection. Instead, he showed that success comes from surviving your mistakes without letting them define your future. He did not need to be right all the time. He needed to be consistently rational, mostly right, and disciplined enough to avoid catastrophic errors. That is a much more useful lesson for real life. Most people do not fail because they make one imperfect decision. They fail because they panic, overreact, chase approval, and lose their process. Buffett kept his process. And because he kept his process, he kept his edge. Another crucial part of Warren Buffett's story is Charlie Munger. Buffett's evolution as an investor was shaped not only by Benjamin Graham, but also by his longtime business partner, Charlie Munger. Munger helped shape the vision of building great businesses and using insurance float and disciplined capital allocation to expand across the American economy. Over time, Buffett moved beyond purely buying cheap businesses and embraced the power of buying stronger businesses at fair prices. That shift was profound. It was not a rejection of value investing. It was a maturation of it. Buffett learned that quality matters, management matters, moats matter, and durability matters. This is one reason his story feels so wise rather than merely clever. He did not cling stubbornly to an early formula simply because it had once worked. He evolved, he learned, he refined, and in life, that may be just as important as intelligence itself. The person who keeps learning can keep winning. The person who stops learning, even after success, slowly becomes trapped by old victories. Buffett's greatness was not static. It was adaptive, thoughtful, and open to better ideas when better ideas appeared. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about Buffett is how simple many of his principles sound. By what you understand. Think like an owner. Care about value, not excitement. Stay within your circle of competence. Let compounding work. Avoid unnecessary risk. Those ideas sound almost too simple for a man whose name became synonymous with extraordinary wealth, but that may be exactly the point. Buffett's success is a reminder that complexity often attracts attention, while simplicity often builds fortunes. People love secrets. Buffett mastered fundamentals. People search for shortcuts. Buffett trusted repetition and discipline. People want to predict every twist in the market. Buffett focused on businesses, incentives, and time. There is something deeply comforting in that. His life suggests that you do not need 1,000 brilliant tricks to build something extraordinary. You need a few sound principles, followed faithfully over decades. And that is why his story reaches far beyond finance. Even someone who never buys a stock can learn from Buffett. Choose carefully. Stay calm. Think clearly. Do not let the crowd do your thinking for you. And above all, do not underestimate the power of consistency. Warren Buffett's success also carried a moral dimension that made his life larger than money. In 2006, he committed to gradually giving away his Berkshire Hathaway wealth to philanthropy, and he later became one of the founders of the Giving Pledge, encouraging the wealthy to commit at least half of their fortunes to charitable causes. This matters because it reveals something essential about the final shape of success. Buffett did not spend his life merely accumulating. He also thought deeply about stewardship. He understood that money is a tool, not an identity. Wealth can enlarge a life, but it does not automatically give it meaning. Meaning comes from what wealth is used for, what values guide it, and what responsibilities come with it. Buffett's later years show that success is not complete when it only benefits the person who achieved it. The highest form of success eventually turns outward. It begins asking a different question. Not just, what can I build, but also, what can I give? That shift from accumulation to contribution is one of the reasons Buffett's story feels not only impressive, but deeply human. And then there is the style of the man himself. For all the scale of his success, Buffett became famous for habits that looked almost modest compared with modern billionaire mythology. He remained rooted in Omaha. He became known not for flamboyance, but for clarity. He spoke in plain language. He explained complicated ideas so ordinary people could understand them. He built trust because he sounded like someone who respected truth more than performance. That may be one of the most underrated parts of his success. In a world where many people try to appear larger than life, Buffett built enormous credibility by remaining understandable. He did not hide behind jargon. He did not pretend confusion was sophistication. He made complicated decisions, but he communicated with unusual simplicity. And that is a lesson for every leader. If you truly understand something, you can usually explain it simply. Buffett's communication style reflected his thinking style: direct, rational, patient, and grounded. He was not trying to impress people with mystery. He was trying to help them see reality more clearly. That is one reason generations of investors kept returning to him year after year, letter after letter, meeting after meeting. Now, When we look at Warren Buffett as he is today, the picture is both historic and current. He is no longer Berkshire Hathaway's CEO, because Greg Abel succeeded him on January 1st, 2026, but Buffett remains chairman and continues to be a central moral and symbolic figure in the company he built. That transition says something beautiful about the final chapter of his story. Real builders think beyond themselves. They do not only create success, they create continuity. Buffett spent years preparing Berkshire for a future after him. That is not the behavior of someone addicted only to power. That is the behavior of a steward. He understood that the strongest legacy is not personal fame. The strongest legacy is a culture, a philosophy, and an institution that can endure. That may be one of the noblest dimensions of his life. He did not just build wealth. He built something intended to last. So what is the deepest lesson in Warren Buffett's journey? It is not simply that a boy from Omaha became a billionaire. It is not simply that a man bought great businesses and made great investments. The deeper lesson is that extraordinary outcomes often grow from ordinary virtues practiced with uncommon consistency. Curiosity, patience, humility, rationality, discipline, long-term thinking. Buffett teaches us that brilliance is powerful, but temperament may be even more important. He teaches us that success is not always loud. Sometimes it is calm. Sometimes it looks boring to the crowd. Sometimes it requires letting years pass while your principles do their work. He teaches us that you do not need to be in a hurry to build a remarkable life. You need to be clear. You need to keep learning. You need to avoid the traps that destroy judgment. And you need to let time become your partner instead of your enemy. For anyone listening right now, that is the part of Buffett's story worth carrying into your own life. You may not become Warren Buffett, but you can become more disciplined, more thoughtful, more patient, and more intentional. And those qualities can transform a life just as surely as they transformed his, and maybe. That is the best way to end this story here on Billionaire Success. Lessons. Warren Buffett's life reminds us that success does not always belong to the loudest person, the fastest person, or the most fashionable person in the room. Very often it belongs to the person who understands reality best and stays faithful to sound principles the longest. A child selling gum and newspapers can become one of history's most respected investors. A young man who bought his first stock at 11 can build a company. And a philosophy that influenced the world for generations. A disciplined mind can outperform excitement. A patient heart can outperform fear. And a life built on compounding wisdom can become larger than wealth itself. Warren Buffett's journey is not only about becoming rich. It is about becoming steady enough, wise enough, and disciplined enough to let simple truths shape an extraordinary destiny. That is why his story still matters. And that is why it will continue to matter for a very long time.